When you think of voodoo, what do you usually think of? Probably some crazy religion in Africa that translated over to the Caribbean. And you wouldn't totally be wrong. It may seem that way to us, and it certainly does. But in an old encyclopedia from 1969 that I found in my grandfather's collection, I found a better account for what voodoo actually is than what most of us think it is. Voodoo, or Vodun, is the name given to religious beliefs and practices of magic of certain Negro tribes. The word is a West African word which means God or spirit. The beliefs and practices of voodoo have spread to many parts of the West Indies and to a few parts of the United States. Voodooism of 10 has a powerful influence on those who practice it. According to Voodooism, the spirits of the dead live in a world of ghosts, but can visit the world of the living to bless or curse people. To find out what people really think, we went out and asked some real people. We asked them two questions. First, where do you think voodoo came from? And second, do you think voodoo is a religion or a cult?
I'm definitely not versed on this
The
subject.
answer's varied.
But I know that it's like a big thing in like Haiti and the surrounding area, Dominican Republic, so the Caribbean, and I thought that roots of that came out of Africa, and were brought with people that migrated over the Caribbean.
Okay. A religion, or do you think it's a cult?
I would say it's like a spiritual practice, right? It's a way of life for people down there, just like Christianity is up here, isn't it?
Cool.
Old satanic rituals dating back to the Upanishads and the Salem witchcraft gallows.
Yep.
Yeah, cool. I think it's more of a cult.
Not here in the United States. Maybe like in Africa somewhere. Yeah. Some like tribal place. Or maybe like Nepal. I always think of voodoo like voodoo medicine, like kind of crazy medicine. So more like culty, I guess. Yeah.
It can kind of be intertwined though, I can see that. Having a religious background, if it was like ancient, right? Those things are the same.
Where do you think it originated?
Maybe Massachusetts because of the wishes. Alright, so that's a good answer. Good answer. I'd say more religion. Yeah.
Finally, we found a resident expert on voodoo.
Where's its origin? Sure. So voodoo's roots kind of are steeped in Catholicism and also sort of, I would say, African, like Orisha-based sort of mysticism. So voodoo was actually brought over here from Haiti and brought over to the south with slaves when they first came over. Like more specifically, probably like around Louisiana, New Orleans, like around that sort of geographic little, I would say, pinpoint is where most voodoo kind of is. But it's the sort of blending between sort of French Catholicism, which was really popular, especially with the French coming over to America, and then also when they were bringing over their slaves had sort of deeply rooted religion with sort of the Orishas, which are 7 different African powers that the Orishas is like God divided up into 7 different sort of deities. And then with Catholicism, we have, of course, all of your saints and all of the different sort of little patron saints that you would pray to. So they kind of married each other, and that's where you get voodoo and hoodoo. So voodoo is this sort of really interesting blend of French Catholicism and, again, that sort of African sort of deity sort of system blended together and to create a whole new sort of religion, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You mentioned something about like Orishas, like gods,
Mhm.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
Can you talk on some of those? Like what
Sure.
sort of things they influence?
Yeah, sure. So like the one Orisha that I'm very familiar with is like Yemaya, and Yemaya is the goddess of the sort of goddess or Orisha of the ocean, change, influence, emotions. So if water is always kind of ruled emotions, think of water being really fluid and being kind of washing over you and changing your sort of outlook. Bathing yourself, you know, sometimes when we feel like crappy, we'll go and we'll take a shower and we feel better afterwards. That sort of cleansing. is what kind of Yemaya is. You would petition to her if you needed a positive change in your life, especially with your emotions. If you were having a really hard time kind of adjusting to something, whether it be like, say it's like a change in your work atmosphere, you're studying really hard for a test and you're really stressed out, you could call on Yemaya to take her waters, wash them over you, and change your perspective of, or help, petition to her to change your perspective of the world, to soothe your emotions, or to raise up emotions within inside of you. So some people will turn into Yemaya, or will turn to Yemaya for love. So if you needed to bring about positive change or love in somebody else, you could petition to Yemaya, write your note on a piece of paper, and then literally just put it in the ocean and let it go out, and then send it out with reverence to Yemaya, and she will get that, because that's just one little way to kind of communicate with her. Yemaya is the one that I would say I'm the most familiar with. Yeah.
Cool. Can you talk a little bit about, how relevant is voodoo in the world today? And
Sure.
What is it?
Yeah, I would say in different parts of the world, especially in the South, here in America, in the South is where it's most prevalent, just because of the sort of historical landscape of where it was carved out. You're going to see a lot of it in the South, especially in New Orleans, Georgia. You'll see little pockets of it in Florida as well too. Anywhere where there's a sort of voodoo culture, or any culture that is that kind of mix again of Catholicism and Haitian orishas, wherever those kind of come together is where you'll find like a little voodoo community. Yeah, it's definitely still relevant. It's definitely, if you go down south, you will see a lot more of it. Up here, you don't see a whole lot more of it up here, but some people, like here at the shop, we definitely adopt some really cool voodoo philosophy, where like using, bones and animal parts is another really big one. We love to do that here because it brings honor and reverence to the spirit of the animal that has once passed, but they have left their earthly vessel and left something behind. So there's this sort of energetic imprint on that bone, or wing, or claw, or whatever you use to kind of again promote that positive change within your own life. So actually funny that I'm wearing this hat today. This is my like little protection hats, because I have two little bones of these are coyote baculum. That I keep in my hat to ward off sort of any negative experience that I might have throughout the day. So I'm wearing that. And then red, of course, is a very protective color as well. Yeah, voodoo is definitely relevant. It's very, very relevant, very prevalent down in the South. You don't see it so much up here in this sort of Yankee, sort of European witchcraft culture. We have Salem, they have New Orleans. It's that kind of back and forth. No, they're not mutually exclusive. They're not different. I mean, they definitely have different sort of belief systems and different practices, but the end goal is always the same, which is to create a change within the world using will and energy through the means of anything you can kind of bring in to help promote that change. Yeah.
Cool.
It's
Literally
very
just write a
simple.
letter.
Yeah, we always say here too that the amount of energy that you put out into the world, as simple as it can be as simple as writing, your wish on a piece of paper. Think of it when you blow your birthday candles out. You know what I mean?
Yep.
You make
Yep.
that wish in your head, you blow those candles out, and the thought process behind that is kind of like incense with Japanese culture. So when people died and they needed something to happen, they would look to their ancestors. They would put little sticks of incense on their birthday, or on their, like your personal birthday, or on that person's birthday, and send wishes up to them by blowing the incense out, and then your wishes go up with the smoke. So that's where kind of birthday candles come from. So there's this like, it's the little things that you do to kind of create that positive change. That's where the magic kind of happens. And however that magic happens, whether it's through voodoo, whether it's through witchcraft, whether it's through druidism or herbalism, or whatever you kind of decide to kind of label it, it's really all about just pushing energy to make a change within the world. Magic is bending the will of the world to help make it a better place. That's my philosophy.
Yeah, I like that philosophy. So while we may not be practicing voodoo tomorrow, we found a new respect for this religion and the people that practice it. And that's worth a lot. Thanks for watching.